Spring had arrived in Los Angeles, painting the city with a fresh vibrancy. The air, crisp with the scent of blossoming jasmine and orange, carried a sense of renewal, as if the entire world was waking up from a long slumber. The sunlight, soft and golden, kissed the city streets, casting everything in a gentle glow. For most people, this time of year represented hope, a time for new beginnings. But for me, it was a subtle reminder that change, however beautiful, should be approached with caution. Routine is my sanctuary. It keeps me grounded, anchored in the midst of life's unpredictability. I have built my world carefully, like a fortress of well-ordered habits and plans. Every morning begins the same: yoga at dawn, a precisely brewed latte from my favorite cafe, and the familiar hum of the office where I've carved out a successful career as an accountant. My life is structured, predictable, and above all, safe. I suppose being a Capricorn, with my inherent need for stability and control, makes me view change not with the carefree enthusiasm others might have, but with careful deliberation. At 28, I'm not easily swayed by whims or flights of fancy. Even when spring stirs around me, I remind myself that it's best to keep both feet firmly on the ground, no matter how tempting it is to leap into the unknown. Yet, on one particular Saturday morning, as I sipped my latte at a quaint cafe in Silver Lake, something tugged at me. My gaze fell upon a cluttered bulletin board covered with flyers, a kaleidoscope of colors and promises. Among them, one stood out: outdoor movie night in Griffith Park. I hesitated, eyes tracing the words again. A classic movie under the stars. Casablanca, no less. I love old films, the way they unfold with a kind of elegance and charm rarely found in modern cinema. A strange flicker of excitement stirred in me, as if the idea had already settled into my mind before I could second-guess it. Perhaps, just this once, I could indulge in a break from routine. By evening, I found myself at Griffith Park, a blanket spread neatly beneath me, surrounded by the low murmur of conversations and the occasional laugh from nearby picnicking groups. The park felt alive, with an energy I hadn't expected, and I couldn't help but feel a slight thrill as the screen began to glow. Casablanca's familiar opening scene filled the outdoor air, and I felt a rare sense of contentment, like I'd allowed myself a small luxury, stepping slightly outside the lines I'd drawn so firmly. But there was always the risk of disruption when you let your guard down, wasn't there? Halfway through the movie, as Ingrid Bergman and Humphrey Bogart exchanged glances that could cut through time, I felt a tap on my shoulder. The man who stood beside me, tousled hair and apologetic smile, broke into my evening as smoothly as the spring breeze had settled over the park. I watched as he crouched beside me, searching for his lost keys with a flashlight. His name was Leslie, and while he seemed unremarkable at first glance, something about his easy confidence and casual charm unsettled me. I wasn't looking for anything, least of all a stranger who seemed far too comfortable navigating life with spontaneity. As the evening wore on, though, Leslie didn't disappear as I expected him to. Instead, he returned with hot chocolate, his smile disarming, his presence oddly unintrusive. He sat next to me, as if it were the most natural thing in the world. It should have felt invasive. It should have irritated me. But somehow, it didn't. We spoke between scenes, his voice a gentle counterpoint to the soft hum of the film in the background. Leslie, it turned out, was a writer, a life that seemed so far removed from my own carefully orchestrated world of numbers and precision. Writers lived in chaos, didn't they? They embraced uncertainty and thrived on unpredictability. But as he spoke about his work, his favorite novels, and the small quirks of inspiration, I found myself strangely drawn in, as though his spontaneity was a breath of fresh air in my otherwise rigid life. Capricorn or not, there was something undeniably intriguing about this moment. Perhaps it was the magic of the evening, the allure of the film, or the spring air wrapping us in its delicate embrace. For a moment, I allowed myself to consider the possibility that stepping outside my usual boundaries Wasn't always dangerous, just different. By the time the credits rolled and the crowd began to scatter, Leslie turned to me with a casual invitation. A jazz concert at the Bowl. Instinct told me to say no. Jazz was improvisational, wild, everything I wasn't. But as I stood under the stars, the cool night air wrapping around me like a promise of things to come, I found myself nodding. "Yes," I said, feeling the word as it left my lips, surprising even myself. As we walked back to our cars, Leslie continued talking about jazz, his enthusiasm bubbling over with each word. I smiled, listening quietly, my thoughts already spinning. I couldn't quite shake the feeling that this was the beginning of something. The thing with spring is that no matter how much I try to control my world, it reminds me that growth is inevitable, whether I'm ready for it or not. Perhaps this time, I wouldn't resist it.